Very busy day at the French Parliament, and potentially the fate of the government may once again hang in the balance. One major bill lawmakers are considering is the so-called Zucman tax. It's being brought by the ecologists and the legislation named after the economist Gabriel Zucman. Supporters of the proposal say it would solve France's debt crisis. Critics say it could lead to a tax flight and curb investment. Our reporter Antonia Kerrigan is standing by at the French Parliament, and we can speak to her now. Let's you, Antonia. First of all, take us through what the Zucman tax is and why it is sparked so much heated debate, really.
Well, after former Prime Minister François Bayrou tabled a budget this summer that promised 44 billion euros worth of savings, there was a huge discussion about issues of fiscal justice, and it's transpired that 86% of the French population are in favour of new taxes that tax more heavily the ultra-rich, the enormous fortunes. And this Zucman tax, put forward by the economist Gabriel Zucman, looks for a blanket tax of 2% on fortunes over 100 million euros. Now, the Socialist Party thinks such a tax in France could bring in between 15 and 25 billion euros a year. That's based on the wealth currently in the country, assuming that these multimillionaires don't, of course, immediately leave if such a bill is passed. However, when they realise that this kind of bill clearly doesn't have majority in government, and even the Socialist Party leader has admitted that it doesn't look like such a bill would win a majority, they tabled something called Zucman Light, which is a similar tax, 3% blanket tax on smaller fortunes, though, over 10 million euros, with an exemption for start-ups and family businesses. That would raise about 5 to 7 billion a year in France under current conditions. However, the economist, whose name is on the tin, Gabriel Zucman, fears that these exemptions could, of course, open loopholes open to abuse. The Socialist Party, though, are trying to be realistic. They've lent their provisional support to this government in the hope that it will grant them the big win of suspending the 2023 pension reform. They're conscious that the left don't have a majority in Parliament, so they're working on the art of the possible and looking to see what they can nevertheless wrangle in this extremely fractious Parliament.
Yeah, a fractious Parliament, but as you point out there, the majority of the households here in France do support the proposal. So to what extent does the government really hang in the balance here?
Well, of course, the Socialist Party initially made this Zucman tax their hill to die on. Then they realised that it wasn't going to get them a win, so they tabled this idea of Zucman Light. Now they've made it pretty clear, and this is an evolution just over the past few days, that they're actually open to other alternatives before they pull the plug on government. Reportedly, they're essentially looking for about 12 billion euros in new tax revenue in this budget, and that will allow them the necessary margin to prevent a freeze in pension payments and benefit payments against inflation in the next budget, and also to prevent the doubling of the basic medical fees in France. Now, they say a third of that 12 billion has been covered in amendments voted in recent days, but that doesn't mean that just because the Socialists might be willing to come to a compromise, that doesn't mean that the government is safe. Of course, the Socialists are less gung-ho about toppling the government now than they seemed even a week ago, but a budget that meets their slightly relaxed specifications is still likely to provoke ire on the benches of the right, who are also in a position of power over the Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu. He knows it's a big day. He has attended Parliament today. That's not a rule, that's an exception. So we'll have to see. And if it's not today, there's certainly still trouble down the road for this government faced with this extremely divided Parliament.